7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother. What we do here is go back.
Hey everyone, Steven Jensen and Brad Pedersen here. I hope y'all can hear me. I hope y'all can see us. I hope you can hear Brad. Let us know in the chat if there's any audio, visuals, anything we need to fix during the show. But as you can see, obviously I'm not here today with Jessi Davin, who's normally here with us. She is currently on maternity leave, technically speaking, but she is there in the chat. That is her. That is not me, I promise you. That's Jessi right there in the chat, and she is due very, very soon. But I have a great replacement today, a guy that I'm really looking forward to, Brad Pedersen. He was referred to me by my friend Matt over at WrestleRumble.com, who has been so great to this show for many years. So Brad was like the go-to guy, and this is his debut here on the show. Brad, how you doing today, man?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me on. I'm psyched to be here. Always happy to be part of anything Wrestle Rumble's got cooking up, and glad to be talking with you guys.
Well, I very much appreciate you taking your time today. Y'all can catch Brad on his own podcast, and he's a part of Wrestle Rumble. Go ahead and let people know where they can find you before we get started.
Yes, you can find me. I am 1/3 of the 3-man power trip on the Worst Wrestling podcast. And there are 2 worst ones, unfortunately, but we're the worst of the worst, I promise. So you can find me there. And also, I'm the man behind all the graphics for Wrestle Rumble, the head of creative, as I have aptly named myself.
I love those graphics, man. Always good stuff. Right now they got the...
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Absolutely. Before we get started, let me actually pull up their website. And as always with all of our prediction shows, the show is brought to you by Wrestle Rumble. And I really highly recommend y'all get over there and check out the contest this Sunday, as well as the raffle that they got going on. I'm going to talk about both real quick and let everybody know. Basically, we're giving away 5 entries today on the show to people who are watching. So 5 of you are going to be able to do this stuff for free. And basically the way to do that is just be active in the chat. Let us know basically 2 ways, right? If there is super chats, any super chat at all, doesn't matter what the donation amount is, you will get 1 shot at an entry. If we have less than 5, we'll figure out different ways of giving them out. If we only have 5 super chats throughout the show, all 5 of you are going to get Wrestle Rumble entries. But we're doing it based off of super chats. We're going to put your name on a random name picker at the end of the show. But 5 of you will win free entries. And then if we don't get enough super chats, we'll just give them away to people that are active in the chat today. So be active. Let us know what you're thinking when it comes to the winners and losers of these matches. And all your thoughts, even if it's non-WWE related. If you have something you want to say about AEW, mixed martial arts, anything, I'm happy to field any questions, any statement, anything you want read out on the air. We will do that for you. Super chats, we have a donation link in the description as well. And you can also donate directly if you go to paypal.me/fight talk. That will work the same way as the donation. I don't think you'll see it on the screen, but as long as I see it on my alerts, I'll make sure to still do it just like a super chat. Get your question answered or your statement read. But as far as WrestleRumble.com, man, you guys do amazing stuff over there. The prize lists are always insane. So for this contest, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to.
It amazes me every time. Every time Matt tells me what's coming, it blows me away more and more. And I will say that I worked on the next contest already after Royal Rumble, and my God, I don't understand how he does it, but the man pulls it off, and he does it in spades.
Dude, yeah, that operation they got running over there, you guys, it's awesome. Like, sometimes for some of these raffles, I'll talk about the Dig It belt giveaway here in a second, but what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something about the prize list. Obviously, they're always completely insane. Like right now, it's what $1,000 cash for the Royal Rumble. I mean, someone's gonna win $1,000 for picking the Royal Rumble.
Somebody's walking away with $1,000, and then our second place we got the NWO Big Gold Belt, and then a personal favorite. I love the white strapped belt. So you got a white strap championship belt coming your way. That will look good on your waist, on your shelf, wherever you feel inclined to put it. It is big, heavy, and great.
Yes. I've won 1 championship belt in my multiple years of doing Wrestle Rumble contests at this point. Oh, what I was going to say before is sometimes in some of these raffles, there's like 4,000 entries. Like, that's how big Wrestle Rumble's getting. Like, there is a ton of people playing these games, which is just so awesome.
Yeah, and that's what makes it unpredictable. I've actually, as the head of creative, I stay away from any of the contest stuff. I don't have anything to do with the scoring, anything to do with the pulling of the winners. So I've actually won a contest myself. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing like it when you get that box sent to your doorstep. Man, they do it right.
Yeah, and it shows up super fast. Like, I've won 1 time as well, and it was the NXT New Orleans Pick'em contest. So I got an NXT replica title. That thing showed up at my door because Matt sent it from probably New York, some east. He's in New York, isn't he? Is that where Matt's at? New York, New Jersey.
No, we're a couple of answers. We're Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's right, Pittsburgh. Duh, giant Steelers fans. That's right. I completely forgot. I always think New York for some reason when I think about Matt. But that thing showed up at my door I was living in Nashville at the time, probably within 2 days. That belt was at my doorstep. I mean, you get those prizes fast. And on top of the Pick'em contest, we're also doing the Dig It belt contest. It's a raffle. $1, guys. $1 entries, as insane as that is. For $1, you could potentially win. There's going to be 3 different winners. They have a Macho Man Legacy belt. So that's what you see here in the picture on this graphic that, Brad, you put together this graphic, it sounds like?
Yes, sir. I'm very proud to say that WWE is using comic book graphics to promote the Royal Rumble. This poster was done a couple months back, so well before I had any idea that there was any kind of comic book connection. So, man, talk about on brand.
Yes, it worked out perfect. You can see here in that graphic, we got what that Macho Man Legacy belt looks like. Second place is going to get an Undertaker 30th anniversary belt. Basically the kind of the old like late 90s Winged Eagle type look, but has like an Undertaker theme, kind of like a charcoal gray / black backing on it with his logo. Really cool stuff. And third place is going to get a mystery belt. So, I mean, for $1, hypothetically speaking, you could put in $3 and win all 3 of those for $3. What an awesome prize list. So, that's what we got going on.
That's the insane thing.
Sorry, what's up?
And the mystery belts, he's had everything from the hailed Winged Eagle belt all the way to the $1 Million Championship and beyond. So it could be any belt. We've actually given away an NWA Championship belt before, so who knows what's going to come out of the bag of tricks for this one. As big Macho Man fans, I know that this one is very, very close to the heart for all of us at Wrestle Rumble.
Yeah, and Macho Man, I credit him for like being the one to get me really into wrestling. Like Hulk Hogan's was kind of like my kind of the entry into it, and then when I discovered Randy Savage, I got hooked. So like anytime y'all are giving away any kind of Randy Savage stuff, I'm always pumped. Man, so we'll talk a little bit more about Wrestle Rumble throughout the show. Make sure to remind y'all. And once again, for anyone who's trickled in, we're giving away 5 entries throughout this show. Anyone who sends any amount of super chats is going to be entered for a chance at a free entry. And we'll pick some people from the chat. I see Issa's in the chat. What's up, Issa? NYC Demon Diva, friend of the show, with the cutest dog in the world, little Roman. And I also saw Throwback in the chat. I see a lot of regulars in here, so thank y'all for joining. And once again, the reason Jessi is not here, I see some people asking in the chat. She's super extra pregnant right now, y'all. Like, she got some pretty serious stuff going on, so that's why she's not on screen, but she is there in the chat interacting with y'all. And I don't know if Matt from Wrestle Rumble is in here or not, but sorry, Matt, for mistaking Pittsburgh for New York. And he's such a nice dude. He got me into his work pool for the Super Bowl this year. So, like, thank you, Matt. Really nice guy.
Matt is... they don't make many like him, and I do have some really big shoes to fill with Jessi. So, Jessi, I hope I do you well.
Yes, good deal. Well, we might as well just jump right into the show. As always, guys, those super chats and donations, I mention it so much because what me and Brad are going to do right now is we're going to go from the bottom of the card all the way up to the top of the card. We will stop and pivot and discuss what y'all want us to discuss along the way via super chats and donations, but otherwise, we're just going through this show and making predictions. So, starting off, Brad, what we like to do here is we like to switch off. So, like, you'll predict first on the first match, then I'll go first on the second, and we'll just go all the way up through the card. For this show, the first match we're going to talk about is Asuka and Charlotte Flair defending the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Brad, who do you think wins this match, leaves as the champions, and why?
I am calling Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Honestly, I hate to say it this way, but I think these belts are just a prop to get Charlotte into this story with Lacey Evans. So I really, really think that we're going to see Nia and Shayna take this. There's going to be some kind of wonky finish. The Nature Boy is going to get involved somehow. I just think that it is Charlotte and Asuka to lose.
Yeah, I think that's a good prediction. Like, I don't think it made a lot of sense to put the belts on Charlotte and Asuka to begin with. I didn't really follow up on it, but I did catch. I did see on Raw when Nia Jax, I don't know who she slammed. I can't remember who it was, but she like basketball bounced some chick into the mat on Monday. It was someone blonde. I just can't remember who it was.
Yeah, Dana Brooke.
Yes, that's right. I just remember seeing the back of her head and then just seeing her ricochet off the ground. So, like, I'm hoping she's all right. We all obviously have, we all have our opinions on Nia Jax and, you know, the safeness and stuff in the ring, and she always has a microscope on her. Anytime she makes a mistake, people are ready to jump. So I'm not ready to jump. Like, I hope that it wasn't anything serious. But when I saw it, I was like, oh damn, that looked like it really her head really bounced. That all being said, I do like the team of Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I think they complement each other well, and I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna say they win the titles back at the Royal Rumble. Why not? And it looks like there's way more, important things going on for Charlotte with what's going on with Rick and Lacey Evans and all this other stuff. It seems like there's not so much focus on them as the tag team champions as some other stuff I figure they'll probably be involved with at WrestleMania. So I'm with you.
And I never thought I'd say this. I never thought I'd say this about a Charlotte Flair match, but this could be a popcorn match. I mean, I have a feeling it's going to be a short, quick throwaway match just to get the belts switched back over and move that story along. So I don't really see this being much of a consequential match, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm with you. And there's only 5 matches on this show, but obviously the Royal Rumbles are going to be, we got to account for a lot of time for those 2 matches as well. So yeah, man. And I don't see anything as far as a pre-show match advertised. I'm sure we'll get something before the pay-per-view starts. I just don't know what. I don't know if you have any idea what they're planning for that or if they've talked about that, but I don't know. I'm sure we'll get something on the pre-show.
We'll probably get the by the numbers package 100 times over, voiced by every announcer they have. So, we'll know about who got number 1, 2, whatever, and 19, whatever, and figure it out from there.
There you go. I think that's probably the best prediction of all, is that we'll probably get a video package like that about 1,000 times before the matches start. Up next. All right, so this is one very polarizing match right here. We got Drew McIntyre defending the WWE Championship against Goldberg. So what happened last year around this time was Goldberg squashing The Fiend and winning the championship. And then that was all meant, right? And that was all meant to be him and Roman at WrestleMania. Roman wasn't there because that's when, everything was uncertain with COVID and all that stuff. But because of WWE's track record with Goldberg, like, I'll put it this way, like 80% of me is like, there's no way they would do that to Drew McIntyre. Like the way they've built him since last WrestleMania, and he lost the belt to Orton, but he got it right back, and he's really been like the guy they've leaned on throughout this whole time. And he's in a really weird position because he hasn't had real fans, so like we can't even really gauge like if he really works as champion or not. But the way they've booked him has been pretty strong for the most part. But then you have Goldberg, who in the WWE's mind is still, Goldberg, I hate to say it, but Goldberg still is a much larger star than Drew McIntyre, like even in 2021.
Unfortunately.
Right, and that's a whole other conversation we could have about the fact that they haven't been able to build stars, aside from John Cena, CM Punk to a degree, Roman Reigns to a degree, but nothing like Cena, Austin, and The Rock, or Hulk Hogan before that. I mean, they just, and it's, so this is just me thinking out loud, because I'm thinking mostly like there's no way they do that to Drew, but I could totally see them doing that with Goldberg again, because they still view him as like this giant star, which unfortunately he is still a bigger star than Drew McIntyre, like on paper, on a poster, in advertising leading up to WrestleMania. And I hate that I'm about to make this pick, but I'm going to say Goldberg wins. I'm gonna say Goldberg wins the title. Like, everything about me says it is the wrong prediction, but because of that, I'm going with Goldberg. So, what about you?
I could see that, but in good faith and just out of pure hope, I'm hoping it sticks with Drew McIntyre. I could just see, though, especially now with this move to Peacock, with a bigger platform, much more eyes going on it, who's going to be that person that draws somebody in to watch WrestleMania? Are you going to see Goldberg and say, I remember that guy? Or are you going to see Drew McIntyre and say, hey, didn't he have 2 other bandmates at one point?
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that, Jinder Mahal just came back at that special event that they just had. So when you bring up the other bandmates, in my mind as well, I always think like jobbers, right? 3-man band. They were such a job tag team. But
Yep.
but now it's also got me thinking like, what if Jinder Mahal won the Royal Rumble and they did him and Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania and that was the story? There's that, and we'll get to that with the Royal Rumble matches. There's a lot of scenarios at play, but I'm with you. There could also be people coming back to the sport or coming back to, watching wrestling that haven't been watching in a while. They see Drew McIntyre with the title and that's what they think. They're like, wait, last time I saw this guy, he was like losing to Hornswoggle. Like, this guy's the best he got now. But those same people might see Goldberg and be like, hell yeah, Bill Goldberg, I'm going to watch again. Like, as crazy as that is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's a tried and true commodity at this point. And as much as I don't want to see the belt on Goldberg, it could be the way they're going. I'm going to say, though, that I really think Drew's going to hold on to this. I think that they want him to have that moment. He didn't get his WrestleMania moment coming out to a crowd last year. They're going to have 2 nights in Tampa, and they're saying they're going to have a crowd of some type. So this could be that chance to get that payoff for Drew, and ultimately I think that's one of the big stories of his title reign.
That's actually, those are great points. Those really are, because we're moving closer and closer to potentially having fans, even if just a few. I mean, AEW's done a pretty good job of how they've handled it, I think, with like the limited amount of people and stuff like that. But you're right, because maybe this is all a big chance to give Drew McIntyre kind of like a do-over. Because once again, all these issues we're talking about aren't his fault. Like, it isn't his fault the company hasn't made him a bigger star. It isn't his fault that COVID happened and there aren't fans around. Like, none of these things are his fault. It's just a really crummy situation to be in, that he gets his big win over Brock Lesnar and, we still don't know if the fans really care or not. Like, outside of Twitter, but it's really hard to gauge what people really think if you're going just based off of Twitter. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, how many times have wrestling fans tweeted about somebody that they either really love or really hate? And I mean, you're not always getting the people that just think, about somebody. So you're not really getting that true gauge on the crowd. Because, I mean, Drew McIntyre, I like him. He's good. Does he set my world on fire as far as superstars go? Sure. No. But, I prefer him over Goldberg.
Same here. And by the way, just because we're getting about halfway through the card, haven't had any super chats or donations, what we're going to do is, if we do start getting those in, anyone who donates from here on out will get an entry. So as far as the first 5. So next person who super chats and the 4 after that, any super chats or donations, you get a Wrestle Rumble entry for the Royal Rumble Pick'em contest. And of course, make sure to, you can always attach a question or a statement or something to that super chat as well. Up next, I like this story, but I feel like the result's pretty obvious to all of us, but I will ask you, Brad. We have Roman Reigns with the WWE Universal Championship, last man standing match against Kevin Owens. Who do you think wins this, walks away as the champion, and why?
First of all, I think we all win in this one because it is going to be a big hoss battle, and nobody loses with those. But I think ultimately the tribal chief, the head of the table, is going to remain very well seated on his throne. I really, really think that Roman Reigns is on the streak of his career, and there's no stopping him, and at least as far as Kevin Owens goes. And I am a diehard Kevin Owens fan, but I'm just expecting to watch Kevin get whooped.
That's how I feel as well. I'm with you. Everything you said. I love Kevin Owens. He's one of those guys that I really felt had, like, aesthetically, he doesn't have the traditional, like, superstar look. But if pushed properly, coming out of that feud he had with John Cena when he was the NXT champion and he won his debut match against Cena, he could have been, like, their top villain for, like, the next decade if they would have played that right. And now they've kind of... He's kind of, I like him as a babyface as well, or tween, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, he's a babyface with an edge, right? Like, he does a lot of stuff that, like, is really badass, but, like, he's fighting heels at the moment. And I think he really could have been something really, really special. And then I kind of lost faith. But now, over the last 6 months or so, it's more like, okay, it looks like WWE's coming back around on him. He seems like a... Oh, Jessi super chatted on her own channel. Oh, thank you, Jessi.
Aw.
That's very nice of you. Jessi says, appreciation super chat because you two are awesome. Yay. By the way, guys, Brad gets a cut of our super chats this week, so help out Brad. Jessi just helped out Brad a little bit for giving us his time today.
Thank you.
So thanks, Jessi. That was really nice of you. And so Jessi was already going to get a free Wrestle Rumble entry, so she doesn't count towards the 5, but I will make sure you still get a Wrestle Rumble entry either way, Jessi. I've got you on the list already. But that
we got you.
Yes. But that all being said, Roman Reigns is walking away as the champion. I think that he, like you said, he's doing the best work of his career. These are the moves that should have been made 3-4 years ago with Roman Reigns, and I'd say better late than never, because we're all seeing what I think a lot of us. Because the knock for me on Roman Reigns, I was there live at WrestleMania 33 when he, got booed out of the building with The Undertaker and the Monday Night Raw after and all that stuff. And when you saw him at that point, I don't think it was that people really hated Roman Reigns at all. It was just him going out and cutting the suffering succotash promos and saying things and doing things that didn't seem like him at all. And now he's like the character that we've wanted, and he's killing it. I think he's doing the best work of his career by far right now.
And just think if this did happen 3-4 years ago when we all wanted it to start happening. Unfortunately, he went away with his diagnosis of cancer. And just think if you were in that run during that time, when he came back, he would be the most white-hot babyface of all time. They'd be everything they ever wanted him to be, and everybody would love everything he does. He would walk on water, and that's what they've always wanted. And, it's horrible that it takes that kind of a thing to happen to get that. But, they had the opportunity, and they could have the white-hot babyface Roman Reigns. That being said, I'm psyched that we're getting the badass we're getting right now.
Yes, because I think I'm right there with you. I think they just kind of prolonged what eventually they wanted either way. It's just taking like 5 years longer because we are getting this now, and then in I'd say another 2-3 years or whatever, it's just going to get to a point where he's so badass that he won't have to change. Same with Steve Austin, or The Rock. They won't have to change anything about what got them over. They'll just fight heels instead of baby faces. Like that's. And that's the most organic way you can do it, I think. And then you got a shot at having a real, Cena level superstar potentially, because that's what they need. Like they need some real superstars right now, especially when free agency is as hot as it is right now, where people are going to be listening to AEW, New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact. They're listening to offers even on the indies. If you have a big enough name, you can make a full-time living on the indies at this point, because people are going to book you, and you can ask for a pretty high rate right now. So, I mean, that all is a long way. That's just a long way of saying Roman Reigns, I think, is going to be the main face of the WWE for a very long time as a baby face. But this is the key. This is the key time right now that's going to get him there. I'm with you 100% on all of that. And we both agree, Roman Reigns heading into WrestleMania with that title.
And what he's saying is actually pretty true. If he can get over and, organically get over with the fans, he's going to raise everybody's stock around him. I mean, look at Jey Uso right now. He has just risen so far just by being around him. Anybody that he's wrestling, their stock has gone up. And if he continues to be this guy that everybody wants to see, the stock will rise for every single person on that roster. And it's only going to ultimately do better and better for anybody on the SmackDown brand. I
couldn't agree more. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, how they handle Roman Reigns over the next year, because I feel, and this is obviously a very obvious scenario that I think everyone hopes happens, but at some point in the next couple of years, him and The Rock needs to happen. Like, I feel like that's like that's the big blow off, or the big real like main story at play here is at some point in the future, The Rock needs to show up and be like, I'm tired of the way you're treating our family. You're not the head of the table. I'm the head of the table. And I'm about to free all these guys from basically, they're basically like enslaved to him at the moment. Where like, Jey Uso's like got to do what he says, and it's kind of teetering between like, does he like doing it at this point, or is he doing it because he has to? And then you have more family members that can get involved. I even thought it'd be cool. I know Samoa Joe isn't related, but I think it'd be cool to see him get involved in some way where they can be like, you call yourself Samoa Joe, well, like, you're not in our family. Like, if you want to be a success, you got to join us. Or we're gonna beat you up for calling yourself Samoan. Something. Like, there's so many possibilities they have with Roman Reigns being this top heel and this head of the table character. And then I guess to the point being, and then at some point him and The Rock is just gonna be like massive. So.
And I just want to see them keep bringing the family in. I would love to see, and I know he's under contract right now, but Jacob Fatu come in.
So good.
MLW
champion.
Involved in this storyline. Yeah, I mean, he's not going anywhere anytime soon, but my God, if they could get Jacob Fatu in there, he is a monster. He is believable. He is everything that would complement that story perfectly.
Dude, that is a great name drop. For those of you who aren't paying attention to Major League Wrestling, highly recommend checking it out. It's on every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. Leads right into AEW. And Jacob Fatu is their heavyweight champion right now, and he is absolutely killing it. Got a beautiful jump up moonsault that he does as his finisher. Really, really, really good stuff. He'd be a great addition to his story.
He is a monster.
He is.
Absolutely.
So yeah, all good stuff. And I'm just hoping over the next, I hope they keep Roman looking like this. Like, it's okay in wrestling to have some outliers. Like that's, we can talk about 50-50 booking in the WWE all day, and that being a big part of the reason why no one ever really seems to elevate over anybody else. But if you can take a guy like Roman Reigns and, because what I'd like to see is at some point we get him versus The Rock, and then he beats The Rock clean. Like, and then you have, like, you just don't beat him for the next couple years. Like, build him up. Like, Brock's not around anymore. And if he's going to be, it's going to be very part-time. You need that attraction of a wrestler who's going to be there, who's believable. I don't think I can say anything more about it. It's just Roman Reigns. This is what we were all waiting for, is what he's doing right now. And he's just absolutely killing it, I think.
Yes, sir.
Moving on to...
Absolutely. Couldn't say any more.
Yes. Good deal. And I think we're all in agreement on that. Even the Roman Reigns haters, I think, at this point have, can at least admit, this is pretty damn good stuff. Especially in comparison to a lot of the storylines in the WWE, if we're being honest. This is way better than most of what's going on. So, Big Tiger, Jessi is in the chat. She is pregnant. Pregnant AF. Pregnant AF. She's on maternity leave, but she's in the chat right now. Women's Royal Rumble. So, what we should do is we'll do the categories like we were talking about beforehand, and then we'll pick winners. How's that sound?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, so what we're going to guess first is a little bit of a kind of situational stuff with the Women's Royal Rumble and the Men's Royal Rumble. Before we get into it, another reminder, y'all, WrestleRumble.com, jump on there right now. $10 entries for one entry. 3 entries is $20. 5 entries is $30. There is $1,000 cash going to the winner of this, and there is also $1 entries for the triple belt giveaway. There's going to be 3 winners, 3 different belts. Potentially 1 winner if you put in $3 and you get all 3 of those belts. I mean, that could happen as well. So check those out.
Absolutely.
Check it out. This is all brought to you by WrestleRumble.com. And the Women's Royal Rumble match. So, first question I got for you, Brad. Do you think...
Yes, sir.
Do you think there will be any returns in the Women's Royal Rumble match? Anyone who we've previously seen in the WWE that we haven't maybe seen in a while that we see resurface here in this match?
There has to be. It's such a thin women's roster on the main roster. I think it's actually been put out on social media that we're going to see Nikki Cross coming back, which I think if they push her right, that woman has unlimited potential. I just think that she is extremely underrated.
Sorry, I was reading the chat for just a second. Was that who is that you just said for the return?
Nikki Cross.
Nikki Cross. For some reason I like registered Nikki Bella in my head when you said that, and I was like, I have no idea if the Bellas are coming back anytime. So I was like going through it in my head. Nikki Cross. I could see that. For as far as returns,
and then
sorry, go ahead, Brad.
I was going to say there are a few more that they've sort of been dropping photos online of Chelsea Green. She is looking like she's over that broken wrist.
That was fast.
She's looking good. Yeah, she's doing her thing on social media, so I'm hoping that is a hint that she's going to be back. And I think we're going to see some Mickie James and Lana as well.
Yeah, I could see all that. As far as returns for the women, I'll say, like, I'm thinking kind of old school. Like, I'd love to see, like, Jackie Moore in there again. She was, like, one of my favorites ever, and she always seems to be in good shape. Ivory, like, I think she was at the Raw Legends night, like, or, like, Molly Holly, like, those kind, just, I like to see someone like the older, generation show up. Doesn't necessarily have to be like Lita and Trish, although those are kind of the bigger stars that I think a lot of people will probably want to see as well. But that's kind of where my head's at with that kind of stuff. Maybe we see a couple returns, and maybe one, maybe a bold prediction. Maybe one of the returns sticks around for a little bit longer, like MVP did last year, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility, especially with some of the legends, because MVP is working a full-time schedule, but not a full-time performer schedule. Jesse's actually asking about Naomi. I think that she is a very, very good chance of coming back as well. And somebody else that I think is going to stick around and is just going to make people mad, which is exactly what she's supposed to do. I think there's a good shot for Eva Marie to return.
Ooh, that's a good call. There was reports like months back that she was going to be coming back, and I haven't heard anything since then. But like, I could see this maybe being a surprise at the Rumble. That's a really good call.
Yeah, I think that there's a very good chance we see All Red Everything come back and just anger people, even if she just does the gimmick where she pretends she's going to get in the ring and never really makes it for whatever reason. I'm down. I think that that's great. It's a pure heel move, and that's what we need.
Yes, and throwback in the chat with an Eva Marie prediction as well. So let's that's something we could see. And you're right, that would really piss everybody off, especially if she did well in the match, like lasted towards the end, or won the whole thing. Don't see that happening, but you never know. So next question I got for you: any NXT surprises potentially? Anyone from NXT that you think kind of makes their full-time main roster debut, if you want to call it that, in the Women's Royal Rumble from NXT?
I think NXT is in a very unique place because I think you're going to see some NXT ladies show up in the Rumble. Some might stick around. I think the majority won't. I think it's just going to be an appearance, sort of like dip the toe in the water and see how it goes from there. For coming up full time, though, the only one I can really think of that's going to show up and stick around full time, Jordan is calling it right now. Rhea Ripley, I think, is going to be there for sure. But I can see a return also from NXT being Tegan Nox with this program they've been showing with her. The Rumble, yes, it can be a rough match. It can be a tumble match. But it can also be a match where you can get in, get your stuff in, and get out with very little heavy contact. So it would be a chance to get her back on screen and get her back in people's minds. And then also I think Shotzi Blackheart has everything that they're looking for. She hasn't been on NXT very much in the last couple weeks that I can recall. And also I think Io Shirai is going to make an appearance, but definitely not a permanent stick around.
I like all those predictions. I think those are all totally possible. Big Tiger in the chat also mentioning Raquel Gonzalez. I could see her too. She's going to be a big part of the NXT women's future, though, I think. Gonzalez, especially if Rhea Ripley comes up to the main roster like I think a lot of us expect her to. I think Raquel Gonzalez is kind of the next in line as far as like a really dominant female on the NXT brand. And I really think
she's just a beast.
She shows a lot of potential. She's also, she's already very, very good.
I love her.
Yeah, me too. And people saying Ronda Rousey coming back. I mean, I could see that too. Like, I mean, I'm sure the WWE really, 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 really wants her back for similar reasons to Goldberg. Like, Ronda Rousey is the biggest star in the entire company when she's around, male or female or any gender. Like, she's, like, the WWE's always going to want Ronda Rousey back, but it's just a matter of if she's able to do it, what her physical condition is at the moment, or if she has any interest at the moment. I really don't know. But I mean, I could see that. Last question before we make our official predictions for the match. What was the other one? Debut? Someone we never seen before in...
Debut of free agent.
Debut of free agent. So, yeah.
And I'm just going to throw them out there with my free agents for this and the Men's Rumble. Before Chad even says anything, a lot of them I know are fantasy. I really would like to see some of these people come. But I have Allison Kay for the women, Kelly Klein, who's been inactive. I don't think she's fully retired, but she's been inactive. And I think WWE is really aching to get their paws on Tessa Blanchard. And I think we could see her.
Yeah, those are all really good predictions. Big Tiger mentioned my number one at the moment, Taya Valkyrie. I think it's very possible we see her now that she's left Impact Wrestling.
Good call.
And of course her, relationship with John Morrison. I'd imagine there's people there vouching for her to come over. I could see that a lot. I think these are all good choices. I mean, the thing with Tessa Blanchard for me is I think if she's... And people can have their opinions of what's going on with her outside the ring. Like, I understand there's a lot of people that don't like her. I totally get that. But if I'm talking strictly, like, wrestling talent, like, that is someone you definitely want on your roster. She is one of the best wrestlers of any gender in the world. And I honestly think if she debuts in this match, though, I think she needs to win the whole thing. She needs to be treated like a major star right off the bat. Her and Charlotte or something, something really big. Even though that's something that you can kind of build towards over time, the whole Four Horsemen connection with her and Charlotte and all that. But I think it'd be a humongous get for the WWE to get Tessa Blanchard.
I think even if you just get her into the Final Four, that would be a very worthy introduction to the WWE Universe that I think could go a very long way for establishing her. The question, of course, would come down to, does she stick around main roster? Does she go to NXT? Like, where does she go from there? I think she has all the spit, shine, and polish she needs to stick right on that main roster. And honestly, I think that it'd be a nice new foil for Charlotte.
I think you're right. Because, even if Tessa didn't win the whole match, even just getting to the Final Four, it's wild because I'm in such a bubble with all the independent wrestling I watch where, sometimes I kind of forget, like, I listen to, wrestlers talk about their WWE debuts. Some of them, wrestled 10 plus years out on the independent scene. Some even for Impact Wrestling who, have TV distribution or other Ring of Honor and stuff, to lesser degrees. But the first time AJ Styles, perfect example. AJ Styles was like the face of TNA wrestling and was like one of the most prominently featured guys in New Japan, before he signed with the WWE. And even like I've heard him talk about how one Royal Rumble appearance, now everyone at airports is asking for his autograph and know who he is. Like one appearance in the WWE.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of your point with Tessa. Like even if she didn't win, the amount of new eyes that gets on her it's kind of eye-opening for me because a lot of these times people are debuting that I've been watching for 10 years or whatever, so I'm like, oh, this is awesome, so-and-so just showed up on AEW, like this is great. But for a lot of people it's like, who is this person? Eddie Kingston debuted on AEW and a lot of people are like, who is this guy? He's awesome on the mic. And I'm like, y'all didn't know Eddie Kingston was this whole time? So that's a really cool thing that could potentially happen with some of these debuts. Another free agent that, I don't know if it's likely or not, but I'm a really big fan of Alley Cat on the independent scene. I think she's really, really talented. Don't know if she'll ever, be with the WWE or that situation, but or I say situation, like I say situation because I'm sure she has multiple offers. She'll probably have a chance to go to AEW. Sure. She'll probably have a chance to go to WWE. There's a lot of really talented women and men out there on the indies right now. But I think Alley Cat's like the one that I would personally like to see the most, show up in a match like this. So that's who I'm going to go with. So Brad, we're at the point now.
Absolutely.
We gotta pick some winners for this match. So Royal Rumble for the women.
Well, before I reveal mine, in the chat we got Throwback. He's calling Bailey as the winner this year, saying that there's a pattern of 2019 we got Becky winning, then 2020 we had Charlotte. So it makes sense to keep the 4 horsewomen of WWE going. What do you think about that?
I think that's an interesting scenario. I guess the only thing that throws that off at all was Asuka won the first one, right? And she's not involved with them. But that doesn't mean that a streak couldn't have started with Charlotte. Because what you said, Charlotte then Becky, right? And then it would be Bailey this year if that were to happen.
Becky then Charlotte.
Right.
Becky won, then Charlotte won last year.
That's right.
So it was started with Becky and moved from there. But this year, I don't think it's going to be a horsewoman. I have 2 potential winners, and it could be huge for both of them either way. I am very dead split between one Bianca Belair and one Rhea Ripley. Yeah. I think either one of them has everything it takes to win it, everything it takes to main event WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley has a story built back into it that she can be fighting to get back to the top when she lost last year to Charlotte and just build from there.
Yeah, those are the so I did I was on Fightful's Twitch channel on Tuesday. We were doing a watch along for Impact Wrestling, and I was asked that question kind of on the spot, like who I thought was going to win. And I really hadn't thought about the Royal Rumble yet, and those were the 2 that it really came down to for me as well. Was Bianca Belair makes a ton of sense. They seem very, very, very high on her, and I could totally see them going all the way with her. And then they also have Rhea Ripley as just a really great. And I'm going to go with Rhea Ripley as my prediction, and I think it's because I don't think we're going to get Lacey Evans and Charlotte at WrestleMania. I think that'll happen Fastlane or whatever, something before before WrestleMania. And if you can run back that rematch, Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair, that gives her a chance at redemption from last year, when I feel like most people felt like her time was last year and they're just kind of a year behind on everything at this point. She has the look, she has the in-ring talent, the presence. She's a can't miss as a top star for them. So I'm going to go with them. I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say they kind of... Now, this being said, Charlotte is, untouchable in the WWE. She's at a point where she can lose matches, of course, but she's always one win away from being the champion at all times. That's kind of what her gimmick is. And I could see her beating Rhea Ripley again, for all I know, because they're just... Charlotte is their... she's their girl. That's who most things are going to be built around on the female side for a very, very long time. There's going to be some other people sprinkled in and that get big, but she'll be the steady, constant. She's going to be around. But I think that this is a chance.
I can't say I blame them.
No. I can't blame them either. She's fantastic. I think she's super talented.
Mm-hmm.
And she's
absolutely,
yeah. But I feel like this is their chance to have Rhea beat her at WrestleMania to kind of make up for last year. And then that gives you a chance at somebody new to be up there. Steve Austin wouldn't have been as great without The Rock. You know what I mean? It's nice to have a few people up there with you. So I'm going to...
Yeah, it gets lonely at the top.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Rhea Ripley as well. And guys, we're about to be at the Royal Rumble, the main event, the men's Royal Rumble match. Once again, any super chats, you're going to be entered into the Royal Rumble Pick'em contest. Doesn't matter how much the super chat is. If we don't get any of them before the end of our predictions here, what I'm gonna do between me and Jessi here at the end, we'll go through the chat and we'll just pick out 5 names of people who have been active in the chat today. So we want to get you this stuff out for free. We want you to try Wrestle Rumble. I know a lot of you have already tried it. We give away entries, often on the show. But it's our little way of saying thank you for watching the show today and welcoming Brad Pedersen on, replacing Jessi today. So we want to give you all those entries. Brad.
Absolutely.
Men's Royal Rumble. I'm going to ask you the same 3 questions, starting with, we're going to start with NXT this time. Who do you think from NXT could potentially pop up in the Men's Royal Rumble?
Well, I'm just going to start out and say Royal Rumble, favorite thing of the entire year. I would say it's very closely followed by War Games. But for the NXT call-ups, I would definitely say we could be seeing the movement of Damian Priest up to the main roster. I think that he's done about as much as he can do. I think it'd be good to see him with another North American title run, but the Gargano story's going. I don't think he's going to be touching that anytime soon. The other one that I think could be ready to go up, and I think it sort of was shown with the Fight Pit, Tommaso Ciampa, I think, could be going up to be a full-time member of the roster. He went out on his back. I know he has the tag team match coming up with Timothy Thatcher, so we've got a ways to go with that. But, they could be out pretty quick. It could just be a one-time thing. And the other one, this is going to be a little bit of a reach, but I'm saying Velveteen Dream, just to get him away from the NXT crowd, because I feel like they've turned on him so much since, allegations and different things that I won't go too far into came out
y'all
against him.
Y'all can research that. It's very available if you want to look into that.
Absolutely. And I just think that this is a way that they will keep him and, maybe get him up to the main roster and, get him going again. So those are really the 3 main ones. I don't rule out any of these other appearances. Like we got Big Tiger saying Karrion Kross or Santos Escobar possibly showing up. I could see either one of them showing up. I could see Gargano or any one of the Undisputed Era doing a one-off shot in the Rumble. There's a lot of potential.
A lot of potential. Like, when it comes to Escobar, he's got that big match coming up with Kurt Stallion soon, and they've built up Kurt Stallion really well, potentially winning that Cruiserweight title off. I don't know if he'll beat Escobar for it, but they've built it to where it's believable that Stallion could take that title from him. I think you're right on the money with Undisputed Era. Like, one of kind of the running themes on all my podcasts is I'm a gigantic Kyle O'Reilly mark. I have been since his ROH days, and I love seeing what he's doing right now as he's getting title shots, and he teamed with Balor on Wednesday, or I guess yesterday, and stuff like that. I would love to see Kyle O'Reilly come out and have a good showing in the Rumble. There's a lot of really good possibilities. I mean, Karrion Kross, I don't know, just because I feel like the story's obviously still there for him to get the NXT title back, and I feel like he could be a really, really big piece of NXT going forward. But he also has the kind of look that the WWE is... I mean, Vince McMahon probably already is completely in love with this guy. I could see them fast-tracking Karrion Kross onto Raw or SmackDown as fast as possible, too. So...
Absolutely.
Yeah, these are all... And before I ask you another question, something I forgot to bring up during the women's match, and this is a scenario that I really, really, really hope doesn't happen, but I'm going to bring it up real quick because just if it happens, it's on record that we've talked about it. Now I heard the same idea. I initially got the idea from listening to Brian Alvarez on Figure 4 Wrestling. He was talking about this. I believe he was talking to Mike Sempervive at the time, maybe Vince. I can't remember who was on the show with him at the time. And as they were talking about the scenario, I thought of it in my head, and then they said what I was thinking. So I was like, okay, I bet you there's a lot of people that, all right, hear me out. I can see this happening in the Women's Royal Rumble. Once again, I am praying to God this is not what happens, but I can see them doing it. What if number 30 is Lana and everyone's eliminated when she comes out, and she just wins.
I don't want to talk about that.
But I'm just saying, isn't that so what they would do, like, with Lana, how they've built her, like, crying outside of the ring and, like, all that kind of stuff? Like, this would be the way to get Lana to win the Royal Rumble without her having to do anything but just walk out and enter the ring.
I would love to see, if you want Lana to have a hope spot at the end, I would love to see her have that Santino Marella, Alberto Del Rio spot where Del Rio forgot about Santino, and Santino, you think for a second, he's got it. He don't got it. I would love maybe a Rhea Ripley to take over Del Rio's spot and Lana take over Santino, and just watch Rhea Ripley just launch her through Tropicana Field, put her over the wall, home run, done.
Oh, man.
Just she's in the upper deck at that point.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like,
but God, I hope that doesn't happen.
It's one of those things where, like, surprisingly, WWE has never done that finish to a Royal Rumble before. I've seen it on the Indies before. Like, I saw it a couple years ago at the Scenic City Invitational. They do their style of the Royal Rumble. In one year, AC Mack won the whole thing. Like, he was the last entrant, and the last two people, like, double eliminated themselves as he was coming out to the ring, and it was like... And I remember feeling so robbed, right? I'm watching it, and I'm like, what a freaking ripoff. And then I'm like, that was genius, because no one's ever actually done that I can remember. Like, it's such a, like, an obvious idea to, like, do at least once. Now, don't want to see it with Lana, because I'm not a fan of hers. Like, I have nothing against her on a personal level, nothing like that. But the way they've built her on the show is not for me. So I just wanted to throw that out there before I moved on, because...
yeah.
You know, maybe now I've planted that seed in some other people's heads who are watching and listening, and they're like, "Oh shit, I need to watch the Royal Rumble just in case, like, if that freaking happens." As far as
I wish we would have just moved on, because that's a scary thought.
Yeah, I'm glad I've planted that in your head now, Brad.
Yeah, I'm not going to sleep all the night. Thanks, man.
You're welcome. That's your thank you for joining us today. As far as the other questions.
Good God Almighty!
So we went through NXT. Next one I'll ask you will be who can you see returning potentially? I'm gonna go ahead and just throw it out there, like CM Punk. I know everyone's gonna bring that one up. I'm just gonna say, like, I don't see it happening,
of course,
but I'm just gonna throw that out there right off the bat. Like, trust me, we're all thinking the same thing. One day maybe CM Punk will come back. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be on this show, but you never know. I'll just throw that out there. Any other returns?
I think backstage is the closest we got.
Yeah. I think if we see him in a ring again, I really think it's an AEW. I think they figure out a way to do something interesting with him, even if it's really short term. That's just my mindset. But that being said, who do you think?
It's gonna be like a Pepsi on a stick. They're gonna lure him in like a fishing lure with Pepsi, and that's how they'll get him in. They'll trick him.
A Pepsi can full of money. And full of money and good creative ideas. So yeah, as far as returns though, Brad, outside of CM Punk, who do you think we might see come back to the WWE, similar to what we saw with MVP last year, someone who comes back that we haven't seen in a while in the WWE ring?
Somebody I think we're gonna see is Rob Van Dam. I've heard a lot of, he can't pass the WWE physical. He's not in great shape. That's fine. I think they could get him to pass a physical enough to do an in and out spot. They've got that Icon show coming up that he's going to be featured on an episode of. So it just sort of makes good sense that he would be back. You would want him involved. Bad Tiger is calling out my next pick of Carlito, I think, could make an appearance. I don't know how long term he would stay, but I think those are the two sort of like legends, quote unquote, that I could see coming back. But as for actual returns that will be long-term, permanent staying, I think we're going to see Andrade return. This would be a great place for him to come back. I think Braun Strowman's going to make his return from injury. And also Aleister Black, I'm hoping comes back. I'm a giant Aleister Black fan. And the last one I could see coming back, and I don't know what his timeline is, but I think Jimmy Uso could come back and sort of play into the tribal chief's story.
Those are all really, really good predictions. Personally, I'd like to see Carlito the most, just because, like, you know, I was a fan throughout all those days, and he's like one of the very few guys who, like, we just haven't seen outside of. I know he like inducted his dad into the Hall of Fame and all that stuff, but like we haven't seen him on WWE TV in like a decade or whatever at this point. Like it would, and he was supposed to be on Legends Night, or at least he was advertised for Legends Night, and that was like the big thing online was like, wait a second, I tuned in for Carlito and he wasn't even on the show. So I think those are all really, really, really good predictions. I don't really know as far as, I don't know if there's anyone else I could mention that I can really think of. I think Rob Van Dam's a great choice because, you know, he's not with Impact Wrestling anymore. And, you know, as far as passing a WWE physical, I don't think like the weed issue is anything for Royal Rumble, you know what I mean? Like, but he is getting up there in age and stuff, but he was still wrestling in TNA or Impact Wrestling when he left. So I think he can still pull that off. I think the WWE probably looks the other way when it comes to like drug testing if they're going to be there for one night for the Royal Rumble or something. But I could see Rob Van Dam potentially being there similar to MVP, like you were saying. Like maybe he is the one who sticks around, like we saw with MVP last year. And he's not the only one, by the way. I mean, years ago, we can go back to like when Goldust and Mr. Perfect and all those guys, you know, came back, and then we started seeing them week after week on Raw and SmackDown and stuff. And yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anyone else I can think of that we haven't seen in a while. Someone said Kane in there. That's always a possibility. If he's free, I could see that. I really don't know.
I think that the Demic's going to keep Kane back with his municipal government responsibilities. I mean, there's a lot. Being a former reporter myself and seeing how governments work, even in not tense situations like the COVID-19 crisis, you know, they're going to be running pretty hard on that. So I think Kane is going to be wearing his mayor's suit for a while. That's
probably a good call. I think you're probably right about that. Jessi says Samoa Joe. That'd be a good return. He's been on commentary, obviously.
Right over.
There you go. He's the man. Eric Rowan coming.
See Samoa Joe.
Sorry, I missed that, Brad. What did you say?
I would love to see Samoa Joe back in the ring. I just hope they're not putting him in that category of being accident prone.
Yeah.
And injury.
Yeah, for sure. I could see Eric Rowan. I mean, that's a good idea by Throwback. Him coming in with like a Brody Lee t-shirt on and mowing down some people. That'd be really cool to watch. I mean, this is a really random one, and this is one I don't necessarily want to see, but like, I don't know if Aaron Stevens, aka Damian Sandow, is like even still wrestling at the moment, but like I could see him coming in and doing something with the Miz real quick or something. I mean, I'm just trying to think of people who are like around that are still. Someone said Lars Sullivan, Jackson. I think they may have given up on him at this point. I don't know what's going on with Lars Sullivan. So yeah,
he's a creep. He's just straight up creep at this point, so who knows?
You know what I'd love to see? Just because I know he's active and he's probably available, and like, why not? Outside of, I know he's had some health issues, but he seems to be doing all right. I'd love to see Scott Steiner come out there, throw a couple people around and get eliminated. Like, why not? You know, give me a couple legends.
I agree.
Yeah, give me a couple legends in there.
Yeah. I mean, there's bound to be a few that can come out, do a few spots and moves, and just go from there. You know, that's the problem though with COVID and everything limiting how many people can be around, the amount of testing. It just makes the Royal Rumble even that much more unpredictable of who can come out.
One,
Alex Riley from Throwback,
A-Rye, AJ Lee. I mean, these are all good guesses. I don't think we'll see AJ unless like something goes on with Punk, or Punk gets on like better terms. It's so weird because Punk's obviously on good terms with Fox, but I still think he's not on great terms with like the upper management like in the WWE. So kind of an odd scenario there. And then AJ's just going to kind of trickle into that by, you know, being his wife and everything. Well, speaking of unpredictability, Brad, the last thing, who do you think, before we make our predictions, who do you think we could potentially see make their debut, or like a some sort of big time free agent that might pop up in the Rumble this year?
All right, now these are all just my absolute fantasy situations that I would love to see these guys pop up. I'm going to actually start with the big one that everybody's saying. I think that Jay White could be a good possibility. A lot of people have been throwing his name around out there. Personally, I think he's not done in New Japan, so I really don't think Jay White's going to be showing up, but I'd like to see him there. I also would love to see Davey Boy Smith Jr. come back. I think he would be fantastic in the Rumble. Great way to reintroduce him. I keep going back to this Icons show, but they're doing one on his dad. It'd be a great thing to have him there just for even that part. Another guy who sort of has a little bit of question marks around him, he was released from Ring of Honor, is Marty Scurll. I really don't think AEW is going to pick him up because they kind of shy away from people that have any kind of sort of cloud hanging over them, like how they let Jimmy Havoc go. And I'm not sure if he re-signed with Ring of Honor, but if he's free, I would love to see Dalton Castle come do his thing.
Those are all interesting. Yeah, I think the Marty one's still kind of a long shot for the reasons you were saying. Like, I don't know if they want to... Him leaving Ring of Honor the way that he did recently, there's a lot of question marks, like you said. I just don't know what his future is going to be. But, like, Jay White, man, if Jay White's actually available, if he's really a free agent, like he's kind of, how they're playing it. I don't know if it's I feel like it's a storyline, but if it isn't, that would be humongous. Dalton Castle, I think, would be a good choice because I'm not the biggest Dalton Castle fan, but I think he'd fit in really, really well in the WWE with the way that his character is and the way very flamboyant. I think he could get over in the WWE. Like, I think the writers would be able to write for him if that makes sense, or he'd be able to turn something better than what they would write into something better. I think these are all really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think these are all really
good. I think Dalton Castle's at that point in his career where, he's not in the greatest shape. His back, he's been fighting back injuries right along. I see him come in, have a year or two run, with WWE, and then he could actually, if he really wanted, settle into a coaching spot, I think, down at the Performance Center. He'd be a great character coach, just the way he has built his character up, the way he carries himself. And I just think he has so much that he could offer this industry as a whole. I'd love to see him offer it at that level.
Yeah, you're right. And I think the most likely choice of yours is Davey Boy Smith Jr. I think there is a really good chance we see him in the WWE again, especially like you said, that Icon series looks like he's going to be all over the British Bulldog episode. From what I understand, I think he is a free agent. Like, I don't think he's with MLW anymore at the moment, or at least contractually he isn't. So I think it's all very possible that we do see him.
Yeah, I think he'd be a great addition. I mean, he's a big body guy, obviously good old Vinnie Mac likes. So, I just think that the sky's the limit if they get Davey Boy Smith Jr. back in. Now that he's had his chance to go out, make a name for himself, figure out who he is, and go from there.
Yeah, I like all that. I'll throw out a couple that I think are probably long shots, but people I'd like to see. The top one that comes to mind right now is Ethan Page, because I think he will head to the WWE. I think, a lot of his buddies are in AEW, so I think it's going to be a really, really hard choice if he does decide to go to WWE. But similar to someone like Dalton Castle, I think Ethan Page could be given a really, really bad story, but he is so charismatic. He will be able to make it work no matter how bad they try to screw him up. Even if he's doing the Karate Man stuff and all that, I think Ethan Page is really, really good for the WWE system, and I could see him going there soon if he isn't already signed. A guy out on the indies that I think is a shoo-in anywhere, whether it's AEW, WWE, anywhere else. I really want to see Mance Warner on mainstream TV. I think that he really he just got a unique look, character, gimmick, the whole package. He can wrestle, but he's also crazy enough to do death match. Not that he's need to do that in the WWE, but he'll literally do any kind of wrestling match that you want to do. So I would love to see someone like him. So like Ethan Page, Mance Warner. I'm trying to think of like anyone else currently out on the indies, free agent that I think is like a real chance with like a big enough name, because that's part of it too. I don't think they'd put like I'd love to see Warhorse, for instance. I just don't think the WWE like would put him on TV in the Royal Rumble, because I just don't think enough people know who he is at this point. Whereas Ethan Page, if you've been watching Impact Wrestling, you would know Ethan Page immediately. Yeah, there's a lot of really good ones. I know that Anthony Henry and JD Drake, the Workhorsemen, it looks like they could potentially be heading to the WWE soon, and I don't think they'd debut in the Rumble, but it'd be really cool to see those guys. So there's some really, really good. I mean, the indies are so stacked right now, but I'm just trying to think like name value wise, similar to Ty. Like I think Taya Valkyrie could show up in the Women's Royal Rumble for the same reasons I think we could see Ethan Page in the Men's Royal Rumble.
Sure.
They at least have that exposure through Impact Wrestling to where I think they might do something like that. But yeah, there's a lot of really, really good. People are saying Big Cass in the chat. I mean, I don't know what Big.
Yeah, I see that.
I don't know what his current like situation is, but I mean, if he's in good shape, why not? I mean, I don't know. I could see him and Enzo. I don't know.
He's been having seizures, from what I understand. That he has a seizure disorder.
You know what?
I heard he's had a couple seizures on the indies, and as somebody who personally battles that and is battling that, seizures are nothing to mess with. So if you're Big Cass, you sit down and watch this one.
Yeah, you're definitely right about that. I completely forgot that he was dealing with any kind of issues like that. I definitely don't want anyone risking their. As much as I'm beating the drum and stoked to see Sting wrestle in AEW, it's very contradictory to me to say I want people's well-being first, but like I'm over here like I can't wait to see Sting and Darby in a match. Like I can't wait for it. Rich Swann, that's not gonna happen. He's the Impact World Champion, but Rich Swann is doing like the best work of his career right now, in my opinion. Really, really good stuff. All right, Brad, this is it.
Jonathan Brady did bring one really great question up. Who do you think is going to have the most eliminations?
Ooh. I mean, I guess like the most obvious pick would be like a Braun Strowman, maybe. Who holds the record right now? Is it Braun? Did he beat Roman's record at some point?
I believe. Did Brock beat it last year? I mean, he was knocking people out left and right.
Yeah, maybe. I can't remember.
I'm honestly not sure.
Because it was Kane for like the longest time after like the 2001 or 2002 Rumble. The one where there was like the hardcore match and Drew Carey came out and all that. I remember Kane like set the record on that one, and then years later Roman Reigns broke it when he was still with the Shield, and then throwback saying Braun. I think Braun beat it. I think he holds it. Oh, Brock tied it, Big Tiger says. Okay. So that would all make sense. Isaiah Swerve Scott as a NXT call-up, I love that. I think Swerve's super talented, and he's kind of in a no man's land right now of like 205 Live and NXT. Like I'd like to really see Swerve in the WWE. I think that's a good one too. Gilbert, we saw him recently though. Brad, who do you think wins? Who do you think actually wins this match? Who wins the Men's Royal Rumble and goes on to challenge for either the WWE or Universal Championship, or I guess technically NXT Championship, because we saw with Rhea last year in Charlotte?
I'm going with potentially a very obvious choice. A lot of people favor this man, but I am going with Daniel Bryan. I feel like this is his swan song. I really, really feel like this is one thing he needs to do, and I would love to see Daniel Bryan take it.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go with too. Like, there are a lot of scenarios that make sense. I don't want to see Jinder Mahal win, but like I said earlier, him and Drew McIntyre, like, I could see the WWE doing a story like that, where they do the whole backstory with the 3-man band, and They could even get Heath involved because I don't think. Well, Heath, I think he is signed to Impact, but he hasn't been on TV in a minute, so I'm not 100% sure. I think he's hurt at the moment, but you have that story. You have Daniel Bryan, which I think would be the best choice, especially because I think Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns is the best match you could put together for WrestleMania. If they give those guys like a half hour or something to go out there and just tear the house down. Matt from Wrestle Rumble, me and him were texting a little bit before, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, man, Daniel Bryan, Roman Reigns, that would just be just a fire match at WrestleMania. And I totally agree with him on that. There's people in the chat saying Omis. Dude, this also sounds very backwards, but like, if I was the WWE, I'd put the WWE Championship on Omis as fast as humanly possible. Because I don't care if the guy can even wrestle, to be honest. Yeah. I really don't care. Because, and here's the thing, I can already tell he moves, because people make like the Great Khali comparison and all that. You can already tell he moves better than the Great Khali does. And he doesn't have to do a whole lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I got into pro wrestling around like 1994-ish, I'll never forget the Giant in WCW making his debut and beating Hulk Hogan for the WCW World Title. And in that one match, especially as a kid, I was like, oh my God, like there's a dude who can beat Hulk Hogan in his first match. Like this has to be the most unstoppable, like no who's going to ever beat this guy. And it just jump-started the career of the Big Show to the point where, I mean, he's still around to this day. The thing that I think they have, you know, and I think the thing they have with Omis, once again, even if he's not good at wrestling, I know that sounds very ass backwards to say because I'm a huge fan of wrestling and I want the best wrestlers to hold the titles. But at the same time, it's like you have an opportunity with this guy. The ratings are as low as they've ever been on Monday nights. And you have an opportunity to market this guy, put this dude on the screen in a commercial as like, this guy won the title in his first match. Tune in to see who could possibly stop this guy. And just on one glance, you look at that guy and you're like, holy shit, like who could beat that guy? That guy's humongous. And if he can move even a little bit.
Go all in.
Yeah, and when the thing is too, Brad, it's like, I think they paired him with AJ for a reason. Because at some point, that's going to be the Diesel Shawn Michaels feud, right? It's like, that's there is not a better person in the world who can make Omis look incredible than AJ Styles. So,
absolutely. So
I could see AJ maybe winning the Rumble, maybe winning the title, and then him and Omis for the title at some point, because AJ's just going to bump around like a madman for Omis and make him look like $1,000.
Absolutely.
I think that's a dark horse, but I want to throw that out there too. I would really like to see Omis get a big push. I'll say this, if Omis is in the Royal Rumble, he should win the whole thing. I mean, that guy is ginormous. So I don't know how do you feel about that, Brad?
I think that he would be a good run. I would like to see that actually build up to a story of almost first match being AJ at Mania.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him take the whole thing. I'd like to see him maybe knock AJ out and then, AJ come back in and basically help throw him out. And then that's what sets up the rift and they build it from there. I think that would be an awesome story. It seems a little too obvious to do it that way, but it's Diesel Shawn all over.
I mean, what if, this is also a long shot scenario, but like, what if Goldberg wins the title and we had Goldberg versus Omis? Kind of how we had Goldberg versus Braun last year. Like, once again, these are very far-fetched long shot scenarios, but like, it isn't that crazy to think if they do it with Braun Strowman, they do it with Omis. Like, I mean, Braun's been around longer and he has more experience, but like, dude, for all I know, Omis can do a moonsault off the top rope. We have no idea what the guy's capable of. Jessi also mentions Omis winning would bring justice to Raw Underground. I agree 1,000%. I was so salty when so being a gigantic MMA fan, I thought Raw Underground was like the corniest shit ever. But
it really was.
But the way they just pulled the plug on it pissed me off. I was like, why would you even be building this amount of time? And I get like the COVID restrictions and stuff like might have messed it up at some point, but it's like to not even. It's like this was like a big part of the show that was like advertised all night. And then it just disappeared. And it all disappeared after Braun Strowman came in and laid out Dabba-Kato. It's like you built Dabba-Kato as like the head guy to beat in Raw Underground. And then Strowman comes in and just knocks him the hell out. And then it's just over. It's like, what the fuck was the point of all this?
Yeah, one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a train wreck that was just not an entertaining train wreck. I mean, it was there is the best way to say it. So, and as Jessi points out, the sexy dancers were gone after one sexist week.
Yeah. Oh man. If any of y'all want to check it out, the day that Raw Underground was officially canceled, I up on Twitter I posted. It's like a 2-minute video, give or take. It's if you remember when Ric Flair retired and they used that song, "Leave the Memories Alone," and I use that in like it's a Raw Underground montage with the Ric Flair retirement song in the background. And if y'all want to check that out, I would highly recommend it because I think I did a good job of like paying legitimate tribute to the memory of Raw Underground, but also making it totally clear that it was a really bad idea from the beginning. So,
yeah, it was just, oof. It was a clown shoe of a segment.
Clown shoes. I like that.
That's all it was, a big old clown shoe.
Well, guys, that'll do it for the prediction. For the record, I'm gonna go Daniel Bryan as well as my official prediction. I think there's gonna be a lot of people going Daniel Bryan, but I think it's for the right reasons. Like, who doesn't want to see him and they also have the story built in too of, you're the one who took my push, that I was supposed to get, years ago. Like everyone wanted me, and then they like you were the one winning the Royal Rumble, and I had to beat Triple H and then beat Batista and Randy Orton all in one night to accomplish anything, and they handed you the keys to the kingdom instead of me. Like they got a really good story there.
I agree.
Well, I've got some names here that Jessi was kind enough to message me while we were talking. So if y'all are in the chat right now, I have the 5 names, the people who are the most active in the chat that Jessi has sent over to me today. All these people will be winning Wrestle Rumble entries. So you'll be hearing from either myself or Brad or Wrestle Rumble directly. Like, what do you want to do, Brad? Do you want to have people send you the email addresses and then Wrestle Rumble will email the entries over? Is that how you want to do it?
Actually, if you just message Wrestle Rumble on Twitter, if you have the Twitter machine, they are at Wrestle Rumble. Send them a direct message, and they'll get you hooked right up.
Perfect.
Or even, yeah, we'll take it like that. That'll be great.
Perfect. Just go to for the 5 names I'm about to read. Just go to at Wrestle Rumble on Twitter and just mention that you got a free entry from the Steven and Brad podcast. I'll also make sure, I know Brad will be in the loop as well, and I'll make sure to message Matt over there too to let him know that he should expect some some entries coming through. And then I'll have my list as well I have 5 other entries that were outside of the podcast that I got to get to Matt as well. So for those of y'all who are in the chat right now, I hope you're all still here as I read these out. Because otherwise, I don't know how we're going to get these to you by Sunday, but hopefully you're still here. If you're actually, easiest would be if you're still here, if I read your name, just type here in the chat, HERE. Just type that in the chat after I say your name. That way I know that you have heard us communicate this to you. So first name, Black Tiger. You got a free entry. I think you're still here. Just confirm it. Put here in the chat, Black Tiger. Throwback. You're getting a free entry. I see you're still here too. Just type here in the chat just so I know you heard that. Jonathan Brady. You want a free entry. Jonathan Brady. So let us know in the chat if you're still here. Dylan's Wrestling. I don't know what it's called on here because I can't see it, but it's Dylan. Dylan, he's the man. He's always in here. Dylan. If you're still here, Dylan. If you're not, I can direct message Dylan. So I will make sure he knows. Well, actually, no. Sorry. Dylan, we can't. I'm sorry. Dylan, we've tried giving them to Dylan in the past, and he actually doesn't want his information out there. So we can't use Dylan. I totally forgot about that. So we have Black Tiger, Throwback, and Jonathan Brady. So I'm going to give you all a few minutes. I see Black Tiger's already said he's here. I can direct message Throwback. Jonathan Brady.
I got Jonathan Brady.
Okay, perfect.
I know Jonathan Brady.
Okay, so Brad's got Jonathan Brady. Perfect. So we know at least 3 of them. And then, since we can't go... Dylan, you know I'd love to give you one. If you want one, let me know. But it's just one of those things. He's very private about his personal information. I understand that. But he just doesn't want to give that out. So we still have 2 more to give away. I thought I had 5 names. It was actually 4. So, hey, who else is in the chat right now? If there's anyone still in the chat right now, names I didn't mention, let me know. Let me and Brad know. We're going to hang out here for a couple minutes. And we got 2 more to give away. Basically, first come, first serve. And then there's a little bit of a lag.
And if you have any questions, let's keep this going, man.
Yeah, if you got any questions, and yeah, especially, you know, any questions about the Royal Rumble or anything else, whether it has to do with AEW or fighting or anything, whatever you want, if football, whatever. While we're waiting here, Jessi says make sure you're old enough. Yeah, that's the only thing we have to ever worry about, I guess. But if not, give one to Corey. Oh yes, Corey Hummel. We'll give one to him. He's always in here and he always watches the replay if he's not here live. I know he'll really appreciate that. So yeah, I'll make sure to get one to Corey. So that'll be the 4th one. And we're still waiting on number 5. What do we have? Is there any questions you have for me, Brad, or anything that you wanted to say before, while we're kind of waiting here?
No, I'm just, wanted to let everybody know to check out the Worst Wrestling Podcast. If you basically want to hear all of my predictions I made today, just told to 2 different people, go check out our latest episode. It is the Worst Wrestling Podcast. Wherever you find your podcast, we are the one that is red and gold with a microphone in the center. There's the second Worst Wrestling Podcast, so we're battling for the worst. Also, feel free to follow me at Pedersen Reports, and that is Pedersen Reports, just like you see down here. And also be out there looking out my friends at Wrestle Rumble. Matt is a hell of a guy, does a hell of a great thing, and honestly, he got us through so many of those super long 24-hour WrestleMania streaks that WWE had for a while by following around. It was a lot of fun.
Matt is the man. I've had the privilege of of meeting him once in... What state was it? It was one of the WrestleManias. It was probably the one in New Orleans. Oh no, it was either New Orleans or Orlando. I think it was Orlando actually. Either way, I met him at the Raw after WrestleMania. Gave him a ride back to his hotel. Like the dude, like it was so good to be able to meet him in person. Like, he's been so good to the show. Like I'd say I've been doing my podcast since like 2016, and he probably joined on as a sponsor of the show by like episode 10 or something. I mean, it's like the guy, the support that they have shown, and I mean, and it's so cool to be associated with y'all because like the prizes are so awesome for like, and it makes the shows so much more interesting, especially if like you're out of the loop on WWE or don't like the current product. You can still sit there and watch the pay-per-view and be like really invested in what's going on because you got a shot at like a lot of cash and a lot of like really great prizes and title belts and everything.
Absolutely. And the things the belts he sends, they are legit. The first time I got one, it was the throwback Intercontinental belt. I didn't realize what it was in the box. I picked up the box and thought, what the hell is this? It's super heavy, and they are legit, man. They are great.
Yes, they're the real deal, like $300-$400 replica belts. I mean, they are awesome. I got mine on one of my shelves. You can't see from this view, but I am surrounded, similar to you, Brad. I'm surrounded by a very embarrassing amount of Funko Pops and AEW Unrivaled figures, and autograph 8x10s, and it's a very overwhelming room if you don't know what I do for work and stuff. You can see this room like, what is going on with this guy? But I love it, and I can tell that you do too. Looks like you have a very similar setup.
Yes, my wife basically let me have this room to myself, and we're in the process of building a new house. So I'm going to have another room where she's going to let me just sort of, grow my mess of stuff. So Thank goodness she lets me have my own little hobbit hole.
Ah, I gotcha. Very cool though.
Yes, I love it.
Are you able to do Wrestle Rumble? Can you be 15 to enter? I legitimately don't know the answer to that question. Because it looks like Big Tiger is 15.
You be 15? I think it's 18.
If you have a dad, like, or a mom or a guardian or something that, like, can fill it out for you, I don't see any problem with that, though, right? Like, if it's their parent doing it.
No. I mean, that would be, I guess, fine. So, but that would be something. If you have questions about it, contact Matt. It's wrestlerumble@gmail.com. He'll be able to answer any kind of those questions. He's the brains. I just make pretty pictures.
There you go. And Jackson Alonso, I see that you've been in the chat all stream. If you want a free entry, just let me know. Like, just put your Twitter handle in the chat, and that'll be one of our 5 right there. Jackson Alonso, if you want one, Jackson, for being all active today. And I'll answer your question for you too. He says, Steven, what do you think of Undertaker's comments saying that the current product is soft? I see a lot of people with a lot of opinions on all that stuff. I watched the full Rogan Undertaker interview the day it came out. I didn't think too much of what he said initially, to be honest. It's not surprising. He's a guy from an older generation. Once again, by the way, I'm going to preface this by saying I don't think like any of it is necessarily right or wrong. It's just the way I look at it is like he's a guy from an older generation. When he was coming up in wrestling, which once again, this isn't right, by the way, like Hulk Hogan will talk about how when he went to his first day of training, they literally broke his leg. Like that's how the business was back then. They broke his leg just to see if he'd come back and train when he got healed. The guys that he was in the locker room with were carrying knives and guns and stuff. But you also have to keep in mind that, like, that's when people thought wrestling was real, and, like, you might actually get attacked by a fan after a show if you were a heel. So some of them carried, like, knives on them in case they got, like, actually attacked by fans. Now, as far as him calling the actual wrestling product, there's 2 ways I look at it, right? There's the one way I look at it where I think that it's a way better scenario to be sitting in the back and playing video games than sitting in the back and taking pills and mixing it with alcohol and mixing it with cocaine and mixing it with steroids and doing all the stuff that those guys did in the locker rooms back when the Undertaker's talking about. I think video games is a much safer, healthier, more productive way of dealing with your time in the backstage in the WWE. I think that all of that is just progression. I like that there's people playing video games versus potentially dying young because of substance abuse issues. And also in the Undertaker's day, the most entertaining thing you can do is probably bring a pack of cards. Now you can bring your Xbox to the game or to the show, and it's just better options. But I do agree.
Absolutely.
But I do agree with him on the product itself being soft. But that isn't necessarily because of the wrestlers. Like, when you watch Monday Night Raw, it's a PG show that is meant to appeal to 8-year-old girls and 50-year-old men and everyone in between. Like, they're trying to put out a gigantic net and get as many fans as they can of all ages. And by doing that, they have definitely nerfed the product. There definitely is not an edge to the product like there was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So, like, I agree that with The Undertaker that the product itself is much softer, but I disagree that, like, it would be better for the wrestlers themselves to be living the way that he lived back then. I think the video games and, like, the no drugs and all that stuff is obvious. I think that's good progression. So it's like I'm on both sides. I think that backstage things have gotten way, way, way better, but on screen I think they look much more soft. That's just my personal opinion. And I don't know how you feel about that, Brad.
I couldn't agree more. They're doing more hard-hitting looking moves, but they're more acrobatic, more flippy, more more basically what FTR was talking about. A lot more flips, no fists. But it's not as believable of a style. The no-selling stuff, it's just not as believable. I think that's a big, big blow. So I can see why they say it's softer, because people are more worried about getting their stuff in, getting all their cool moves across. And not really about the actual action and the story and how it looks. So, yeah, there's a little bit of softness going on. And actually, Goldberg said something very much along the same lines on After the Bell with Corey Graves and now Vic Joseph today, that everybody's so easily offended and they're softer. It's just not what it used to be. It's no longer the boys club, and in a way that's great because the boys club could be pretty toxic for a lot of reasons. It's more inclusive. That's I preach in diversity and inclusion being something that is necessary if you want to move forward. But as far as the being soft, yeah, there's a lot of softness going on.
Yeah, I totally get where you're coming from with what you're. I mean, I think we have the same exact mindset with this stuff, because it's like when it was the boys club, I liked the actual product more because it's one of those things where I don't watch Real Housewives because that has nothing to do with anything I'm interested in. But if I watched Raw, now I'm kind of having to deal with a Real Housewives element in certain storylines or certain people being pushed that would have never been around in the attitude, not necessarily because of who they are, what they look like, but there are a lot of stories that are very that are storylines that are clearly written for children versus Brian Pillman holding a gun up to Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's a very, very big difference in what the show is. And I think a byproduct of it is the inclusiveness because it's just one of these things. I love that it's inclusive. I think it's all a good step in the right direction, ultimately with everything going on. But that is the trade-off of it is part of the people that are newer to being fans of it, they don't have the same history of fandom that we do. And they're watching a product that to them, this is what wrestling has always been. And this is what's great. And this is what they want to see. But it's one of those things where I just never wanted to get to a point where because of the inclusiveness, now I'm completely alienated from everything I liked about the show. And now I don't want to watch anymore. I don't want it to be so,
Exactly.
I don't want it to be so inclusive that it squeezes me out of being a fan either,
Exactly. And let me clarify something. Jackson Alonso in the chat said that he, loves all the acrobatic moves and that Ricochet is amazing.
Sure.
I agree completely. Ricochet is a once-in-a-lifetime talent. He has some great stuff, but, there are times where you can tell that they're told, hit spot A, B, C, D, hit E. If you miss F, don't miss F. You can tell that it's just so much memorization and just not as off the cuff as it should be. That takes the believability away from it. Let's put it this way. If I'm flat on my back on the mat and somebody the size of Ricochet does a moonsault, we'll just say, off the top rope onto me, yeah, that's going to put me down. I'm done. So, I'm not taking anything away from the moves or their effectiveness. It's just they're whipping so fast through it that they're not able to sell it. And I believe that takes away from the product overall.
That all totally makes sense. I'm sure you remember the days when Ricochet could do the double moonsault. That blew my tits off. Seeing a dude do a double moonsault, I was you gotta be kidding me. And I think some of them, personally speaking, I like the in-ring style better now than what it used to be because I love the added athleticism. I think guys like AJ Styles and even guys like Amazing Red and stuff they're still underrated for what they contributed to the kind of where it's all headed. And then watch guys like Will Ospreay now, and I'm just this guy is so next level with some of these guys can do. Adam Cole and the way that he carries himself and everything. I love this next generation, but kind of like you said, it's blew my tits off. Yeah, someone was making fun of that. You can't see it. It's hidden in the chat. I'm try to show that. Sorry, hit this button real quick. I can't remember where I heard that expression. Maybe it was South Park or something, or Always Sunny. But I think that ultimately, it's the stories and how we get to these matches and whether or not I care who wins or loses. Because a big thing with me, honestly,
Sure.
Brad, is the devaluation, if that's a word, how they've devalued the title belts in the WWE. Like, the one the Roman Reigns holds currently, I think they have done a great job with that Universal title, with him holding it. Because it's like, who's going to beat this guy? And it's going to be a big deal when somebody finally beats him. But every other title in that company, I don't feel like I care who wins or loses. And that takes so much out of me as a fan. Whereas when I watch AEW, it's like, I am intrigued to see who winds up beating Kenny Omega. I am intrigued to see who winds up beating the Young Bucks. I am intrigued to see what happens with Darby Allin in that TNT title. Like, because they've done such a good job of it's similar to, like, it's in, like, Impact Wrestling has a similar problem to WWE. They hot potato their titles so often that there's great matches, but, like, when you have a new world champion every 2 or 3 months, it's hard to, like, really sink your teeth into it. And I think WWE needs to do a better job of, like, really building their title belts to be something I care about more too. And I think that's part of it also for me.
Exactly. And that it all goes back to the storytelling. You know, to me, a good story is what's lacking a lot of the time. And, you know, it's, you know, not ironic at all that the biggest and best thing going right now is the Roman Reigns story, because it is built around a legit story. And I'll buy that every day of the week. You know, sell that to me, because I am going to buy it all the time.
Yes. Oh, Phil Mitchell in the chat. I'm sorry you don't like AEW. Jesse's in there deleting his messages. That's great. Oh, that's too funny. Jackson Alonso. I saw that you put your Twitter. I just can't see. I can't scroll up from where I'm sitting. I have it on, like, a screen.
I've got it.
You got his Twitter? Thank you. Perfect.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Perfect. See, look at Brad over there. On the money.
Hey, man.
So
that's why they pay me the no bucks.
Well, what the hell, Matt? You gotta get your boy paid. So it looks like what we'll do, we got Big Tiger, we got Throwback, we got Jonathan Brady, who you can reach out to, and then we've got Jackson Alonso, who you've got his info. Oh, sorry. We don't know if Jackson's age. Here's the thing. We'll get the entry sent out to the people we're able to send the entries out to. I just don't. The thing is, this isn't. I don't want to speak out of turn, and you may be able to correct me on this, but, like, this isn't gambling. Like, that's what kind of the big difference between this and, like actual sports betting is like, this is a game based on, like, just guessing, basically. Whereas, like, if you were, like, 18, you couldn't gamble in any state. But, like, if you're 18, you can...
Jackson Alonso's 23, he says.
Okay, perfect. Well, Jackson, you're good then. Who was it then? There was someone else that may have been 15 we got in there. We will do our... I mean, we're not trying to get anyone in trouble. You know what I mean? Like, that's obviously... We're just trying to have fun and give away some free stuff for the Royal Rumble. I just don't know how that works. Like, if they're, I never even considered an age cutoff for the entries before. So.
Yeah, and we'll get that sorted out.
Yeah.
Matt knows this. Yeah, Throwback. I'm right there with you. I am also old.
Same, man. I know the feeling. Well, let me talk a little bit about our sponsors real quick before we get out of here. If there's anybody else that, you know, any last minute super chats or anything you want to throw our way, we'll make sure to address those after I read about our sponsors. And if there's nothing there, then we'll call it a day. But first of all, we've been talking about them all show. Another shout out, WrestleRumble.com. This weekend, you know, Matt told me from Wrestle Rumble, he told me, you know, a while back that the Royal Rumble is the reason they started Wrestle Rumble. Obviously, you can tell it kind of from the name, but this is like the biggest show of the year for a lot of us. I know it's the most excited I get all year for the WWE. I love WrestleMania season, but, like, the Royal Rumble kicking that off, it's my favorite show of the year as far as the WWE is concerned. For $1, we are no jokes, no gimmicks, no tricks. $1. Somebody's gonna win a Macho Man Legacy Championship belt. Someone else is going to win an Undertaker 30th Anniversary belt, and someone else is going to win a mystery belt. Or if you put in $3, you might win all three. which would just be wild. And it's not out of the realm of possibility. There have been multiple title. The only thing I'll let you know, disclaimer, when all this stuff gets all taken care of and people can go to shows again, if you win any of these belts from WrestleRumble.com and you bring them with you to the show, so you show up to like a WWE event or an AEW event or wherever wearing that belt either over your shoulder or on your waist, it's 24/7 rules. Other fans can pin you or submit you for that title belt. So just be on close call. Be looking around. If you're gonna display these title belts, be ready to defend them. I'm just saying.
I'm always looking for them, and I pack a steel chair.
There you go. And you know who you really have to worry about, Brad? Is the guys walking around. It's the guys walking around with the replica Money in the Bank briefcases, because those are the guys who will actually cash in and then try to fight you for your replica title at the event. So,
hey, I bought a toy title in an NXT house show. I got rolled up 4 times before I even got to my car. So, I mean, it can happen.
I'm just saying. Be careful out there. These are the real deal. People are willing to fight for these things. And then, of course, we have the actual Royal Rumble Pick'em contest. For $10, you get 1 entry. For $20, you get 3 entries. For $30, you get 5 entries. First place is going to be $1,000 cash. It doesn't get any better than that. They will literally, and I say cash, they'll PayPal the money, whatever. They'll electronically send it to you. But $1,000 in your bank account, boom, for watching the Royal Rumble and making predictions at WrestleRumble.com. Second place is getting the replica NWO, the New World Order. In my opinion, the greatest wrestling faction of all time. You get the NWO belt. Looks just like when Hulk Hogan spray painted that NWO right on top of that big gold title belt. Awesome stuff. Second place is getting that. Third place is getting the white strapped. Is that the Winged Eagle Championship belt? I believe that's the Winged Eagle Championship belt.
That is the Winged Eagle.
That is the late 90s. I believe that was like that was the one right before they switched to the one that Austin started carrying after the Smoking Skull, if I remember correctly. This was like the mid-90s to late 90s. The one that Shawn Michaels held, the Boyhood Dream.
Yeah, that was an HBK belt.
Yes. So this belt, awesome stuff. And that's going to go to third place in the WrestleRumble.com Wrestle Rumble Pick'em contest. So jump on there, be a part of it. I cannot say enough good stuff.
Fourth place, I might just, DM you or something and say, hey, sup.
Yes.
So, you never know.
Fourth place, potential mystery prize from Brad Pedersen. I just keep calling you Pedersen. Is Pedersen?
It's Pedersen. It's fine, though. I'm called lots of things, so that's not a bad one.
Yes. So I realized that, like, halfway through, I was like, I think I said Pedersen, but Pedersen. I'm going to try to get that right. It's like, people call me Stefan occasionally, and, like, it doesn't bother me because that's how my name's spelled. But it's like, it throws me off when I hear it. I'm like, Stefan. Oh, they're talking to me. Oh, no, Steven. But, and then we have Music City Toys and Collectibles, another great sponsor of the show. If you are into action figures, any kind of pro wrestling memorabilia, DVDs, magazines, autograph 8x10s, you're into Funko Pops, you're into, I get a lot of my WWF Just Toys Bendems from Music City Toys and Collectibles. They are an awesome resource if you are a collector of things that have to do with professional wrestling. And I want to give a big congratulations to Music City Toys and Collectibles, because not only have they been killing it throughout the entire pandemic, on their Facebook, their social media, all they do contests and giveaways and raffles and stuff all through their social media. Their online game this whole year has been incredible, and because of how successful they have been during this pandemic, they've been able to accomplish the opposite of what a lot of us, unfortunately, have had to deal with. And they just opened a physical location in Nashville, Tennessee, in East Nashville. So they are doing online, and they just opened a new store. So huge round of applause and congratulations to Music City Toys and Collectibles for being able to open a business during all of this. Hats off to y'all. That is just super impressive.
Congratulations.
Yes, they've for a long time they've been a well-established company, but this is one of these things. They recently changed their name from from Heroes and Legends over to Music City Toys and Collectibles. They didn't know how the rebranding was going to go. Everyone stuck by their side, and there was such demand for their stuff. They needed a physical location in Nashville. So check it out. Jump on all their social media, Music City Toys and Collectibles. And as you can see as I'm scrolling down, like right now, let's see when this is for. So they have a Royal Rumble raffle going on right now. Check that out. They have, I mean, look at these kind of prizes and stuff they have. This is an OVW program from the year 2000 when Stone Cold Steve Austin showed up for a Christmas show. They have virtual meet and greets and signings. They got Shelly Martinez coming up soon. Wishing happy birthdays to their members. Just good people. This is, I mean, look at this. This is what their shipping days look like. I mean, so jump on there and support them because they support us. Music City Toys and Collectibles. And last but never least, my brother Brian Jensen, always helping the show out. He is a co-owner of Steel Boxing and Athletics, a gym in Atlanta, Georgia, head trainer of the LDBF Boxing for Parkinson's nonprofit foundation, as well as the YOPD Foundation. I do all their website work on the side, so I'm loosely associated. They do really great stuff. And Brian can help you in any scenario, whether you are just looking to lose a little weight, get in better shape, you want to, know some self-defense. He corners amateur and professional boxers if you want to actually compete. And he is 100% certified in everything that has to do with any real, neurological issues. So, if you have Parkinson's or anything else going on where maybe you're losing some range of motion, maybe some involuntary movements, whatever it is, he is 100% certified to help you through these problems too. Dexterity work, people don't know. Doing stuff like this a few times a day, just getting stuff triggered between your brain, your nerves, and the rest of your body. He can help you with all that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter what your age is. Doesn't matter what your gender is. Doesn't even matter where you live. If you're in Atlanta, he'll meet you in person. He has a gym. He'll meet you at your business. He will meet you in a park. Whatever it is, he will meet you. And if you can't be with him in person, he can help you anywhere in the world. He'll do a Zoom call. He'll do a Skype meeting. Whatever it is, he will help you reach your goals. The best way to get in contact with him is to follow him on Instagram. It's at BoxingATL. BoxingATL. Shoot him a message. Him, along with the rest of our sponsors. If you tell any of them that Steven Jensen or Jessi Davin or Brad Pedersen sent you their way, I promise you that you're going to get a really, really good deal from any of our sponsors on whatever you're looking to do. So support them because they support us. And like always, you can follow me on Twitter at FightTalk_. That's FIGHTTALK_. I got, if you're into MMA, all things MMA, the YouTube channel, I edit a lot of their videos. Should have another one going up sometime, probably tomorrow or the next day. UFC, it has to do with some UFC records. So yeah, check that out at All Things MMA. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast feed. Make sure to subscribe to Jesse's YouTube channel. Thumbs up ratings and 5-star ratings and subscriptions and follows and all that stuff is always very much appreciated. The Fightful Select Weekender podcast, I will be doing that on Monday instead of Sunday this week because Fight Forever from GCW starts tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, and I'll be watching that until 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. 24 hours of independent wrestling for free on YouTube. And then Sunday's the Royal Rumble, huge wrestling weekend, and I'll be recording my Fightful Weekender podcast on Monday so I can make sure to, try to catch up and watch as much of that stuff as humanly possible over the weekend. So that's everything I got going on.
Excellent.
Brad, go ahead and plug your podcast and everything once again before we get out of here. And thank you so much for joining the show.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me on. You can find me every Monday on the worst wrestling podcast for the red and gold with the microphone and the logo. You can also follow me online on the Twitter machine at Pedersen Reports, which you can see under my name right here, down there. And that's where all the good news is. Give me a chat, follow my buddies at Wrestle Rumble, get yourself involved, do yourself a favor, get an entry in. You cannot go wrong. Wrestle Rumble is the way to be. Worst wrestling podcast, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Yes, we very much thank Brad. I know Jesse's very appreciative. We have all the love in the world for Jessi. We hope that she has a very safe and healthy delivery. It sounds like it's going to be before like the middle of next week, if like everything kind of goes, I guess, exactly as planned. But I'm thinking about her a lot, and I know all of us are, everyone in the chat and all that stuff. And I do want to make a quick announcement because I did forget to mention this. And Jackson Alonso with the chat that says sub to Steven's Twitch. So announcement time, and I'll talk more about this on Twitter kind of going forward. You can absolutely still subscribe to my Twitch channel. It is Fight Talk _, just like the rest of my social media. If you do that, it's much appreciated. The money I make on that just goes into getting, better microphones, better cameras. It all gets redistributed right into, the merchandise, whatamaneuver.net, all that stuff. It always just gets re-put right back into the podcast and the other stuff that I do. But I will be on, at least for the foreseeable future, every Tuesday, I'll be doing a live watch-along of Impact Wrestling on the Fightful Twitch channel. They recently launched their own Twitch. I was on there with Jeremy Lambert and Joel Pearl on Tuesday, and me and Joel talked afterwards, and it sounds like I'm going to be doing it every Tuesday until I hear differently. So if y'all like Impact Wrestling, it's a show that I talk about every weekend on The Weekender. We're going to be watching it live on Twitch every Tuesday now on the Fightful Twitch channel. So make sure to give them a subscription, or a follow is totally free. And show us some love over there at Fightful.com, because they've been really, really good to me, and I want to get as many people over there as possible as well. So had that little announcement there at the end. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you again, Brad, for joining me. And this might not be the last time y'all see Brad. Like, we got a couple other people potentially coming on in Jessi's maternity leave, but Brad is on the short list now of when I'm looking for somebody. You might be seeing Brad, and even when Jessi comes back, we're always looking for more people to maybe do a third every now and then, or a replacement every now and then. So Brad is now on the short list of people that you might see on this channel a little more often. So
beautiful.
Thank you. It was great, and
excellent. Anytime you need me.
Well, I appreciate that, man. You were, for what it's worth, you were very, very, very highly recommended by Matt. That's how I found out about you and got linked up with you.
Thank you so much.
And to pull back the curtain, I messaged him one day and I said, "Hey, man, it's been a while since you came on my podcast. You want to do Royal Rumble predictions?" He said, "Man, I don't know if I'm the best person for that, but I know who is the best person. His name is Brad Pedersen. Hit him up." And I was like, you know what? If you're gonna endorse this guy, I'm gonna have him on the show. So, Brad, you came on, highly recommended, and you knocked it out of the park, man. It was great to have you on. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
That'll do it, y'all. We will see you. I don't know when it'll be next. Make sure you're following us on Twitter. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's how you're going to know when we're live. We just try to tweet out links whenever we know we're going to be live. You'll probably see me and someone else maybe probably like Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday next week. Most likely is what it'll look like. But until then, we'll see you.